So welcome back. In this session today, we're going to talk with Dr. Tamsin Lewis with regards to long COVID digestive issues, specifically how they manifest, what actually is happening with the body, and if there's any nutritional strategies that can help support recovery from this element of long COVID. Why would long COVID trigger digestive issues?
I think we know now that one of the initial symptoms of COVID, of SARS-CoV-2 infection, is one of gastrointestinal. It can enter the gastrointestinal tract. And it was only through a symptom tracking study with Professor Tim Spector that this was first identified, because people were getting a lot of gastrointestinal or GI COVID and it wasn't being recognized. So, you know, the virus itself can enter any epithelial surface, any endothelial surface, get through your nose, get down into your esophagus and into your gut. So it goes via this ACE2 receptor that we've all heard about in the press, and that has a genetic and an environmental aspect to how high the expression of these receptors are. So it might be that in some people, they're more predisposed to gastric COVID than others. And in long COVID, people can have ongoing flares with gastrointestinal symptoms. That seems to be the pattern of people. You have a remission and then a relapse of gastro symptoms. And that is related to a number of things: inflammation in the gut, what we call dysbiosis, which is too many of the bad bacteria crowding out the good. You may have IBS or inflammatory bowel disease before you had COVID infection, which will make the whole system more prone to being impacted on a longer term. So it's having a multi-pronged attack on but not just the virus up front, but then the residual impact of the virus. And that is removing triggers from the diet. We've talked extensively before in the other videos about low histamine approach. It might not be relevant for everybody, although we know that histamine plays a big role consistently in COVID. So looking at taking a food diary or using an app like People With, looking at what foods trigger your symptoms and removing those, and then looking at bolstering your defenses through the gut. So looking at probiotic support. We know that people, a recent study has shown that those who suffer worse with COVID-19 can have a particular sort of signature in their microbiome with low levels of bifidobacteria, low levels of butyrate, which is the fatty acid that feeds the good bacteria. So I do recommend people to work with a practitioner or do a gut test.
You started to touch on sort of nutritional strategies in there, in your description then. Was there any specific food supplements or sort of little rules that you followed that really made a difference in terms of your long COVID digestive upset?
I think I was taking probiotics intermittently, and I think it's good to switch them. I was taking Simprove, and then I was taking the ProBioCare, the ProCare that Viridian use, which has particular impact for IBS-y sort of grumbling symptoms. So I switched up different probiotics, which definitely helped. Other things that helped is glutamine. L-glutamine, just 1/2 to 1 teaspoon a day, can really support gut immunity. Higher doses of curcumin, again, have an impact on the gut, not just on the blood and then the inflammation. And also using things like collagen in the diet, so that I add that to my decaf coffee in the morning, and that can have an impact on the mucosa of the gut. Things like aloe vera, ginger, all of these things can have a real beneficial effect on your gut. Also improving the digestive environment. You know, if you have a high protein or fat load, you have to understand that the body needs digestive enzymes to really get the most out of that food and really get the nutrients. I switched to doing quite a lot of juicing because it's a very quick way of getting good nutrition down into the gut.
If you were at the beginning again, what would be the first thing that you would do to support your recovery?
I would say if you can afford it, then I would do a comprehensive digestive stool analysis and work with a practitioner who they can look at removing, what's good in the bowel. And so that potentially a lot of people can have nasty bugs, pathogens, we call them, parasites, or potentially nasty bacteria that need a killing off in order that your body can actually rebalance itself. So I think doing that would be a really helpful thing, because you then have a phased approach to, killing off the bad, replacing some of the good, reducing down inflammation, and then feeding the good bacteria with things that they like fermentable foods and butyrate, for example. Yeah, so I would very much aim to do that. I think it's a very helpful thing to do, but the quality of the test and the quality of the practitioner matter.
Okay. That's wonderful. Thank you. There's lots of really usable information there. We really appreciate your time. It's been wonderful to chat to you, Dr. Tam. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.